practice, how I coach them. So why not just write a book about storytelling? So I made mine in February of 2020. And then I finished the book within a few months. And I talked with a publisher in China. And then finally went public in 2022.
Congratulations. And I'm really inspired by the title, Winning Hearts Through Storytelling. I believe so. I run courses, trainings for leaders, for international leaders. And among various leadership skills that the participants learn, there is also the skill of communicating with impact, of motivating people, of inspiring through communication. And this is precisely the module when we also talk about storytelling. But it seems not to be obvious to many people who have not come across this theme in a little bit more detail. So how do you see how it combines in business? Why is storytelling so adequate in business?
Now, that's a wonderful question. I totally understand the myth about why storytelling in business world, because I met lots of especially engineers, people from those, the technical background. They said, we only talk about numbers, figures, logic. Why telling stories? Stories are not that professional. I've heard this kind of statements before. So I'd like to run a test with you first. And then you will understand, I believe, your audience who are listening to the podcast will also understand. So let's imagine you are in an exhibition, in a big exhibition, and there are some charity organizations. They have some stands, the booth there. They were promoting their charity cause. They want you to donate some money. So there are two different booths, and they are doing two different presentations. So I would like to invite you to listen to the both presentation, and then you let me know. So you're more willing to donate to which booth. Is it okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So the first one, come up with a slide. Do you want to see the slide?
We can, if you like, but you can also just talk about that as we will be, using it as a podcast.
Okay. So the first booth, there was a slide with bullet points with some figures there. So I'm going to share with you what's on the slide. Food shortage in Malawi, which is a place in Africa, are affecting more than 3 million children. In Zambia, several rainfall deficits have resulted in a 42% drop in maize production from 2000. An estimated 3 million Zambians face hunger. 4 million Angolans, 1/3 of the population, have been forced to flee their homes. More than 11 million people in Ethiopia need immediate food assistance. So please donate to help them. So this is the first booth. Okay, in the second booth, the staff is telling you this. And there is a picture of a Black girl who is 7 years old. Rakia is a 7-year-old girl who lives in Mali in Africa. She is desperately poor and faces a threat of severe hunger, even starvation. Any money that you donate will go to Rakia. Her life will be changed for the better as a result of your financial gift. With your support and the support of other caring sponsors, Save the Children will work with Rakia's family and other members of the community to help feed and educate her and provide her with the basic medical care. Please donate to help Rakia. So there are two different types of presentation. So which one are you be more willing to donate?
The first one invited my intellectual brain to process all the data, and I was trying to imagine the scale which is behind the numbers. But the one where my heart started being involved was the second one. Yes, and especially this statement, any money you donate will change her future.
Yes. So that's, you can see the two different types of representation. We can see The first one with the bullet points, figures is very common in the professional arena. Many people deliver the presentation. They're trying to persuade either the boss to approve a project or persuade their colleagues, their clients to buy the product or service. We're all using similar type of presentation. So actually, this is a research conducted by Deborah Small. When she conducted this research, she was professor in Wharton Business School, and with two other colleagues. So they were running a research. She said they recruited students to join their program. They said, "Oh, if you fill in the survey, I'm going to give you money." So everybody will get $5 after they fill in a survey. That survey was not important at all. What's important is after, because they received envelope. Inside the envelope, there is a letter and also $5. And then when they open the envelope, they read the letter. So half of them get the letter of all the figures, and half of them get letter with the picture of Rakia and then the story of Rakia. And they will compare the result. So who will donate more, right? So the result is, on average, people who read the fact-based letter donated $1.14. However, the people who read the story about Rakia donated an average of $2.38.
Twice as much, almost twice as much. Mm-hmm.
So this research shows us if you want people to donate, you need to appeal their heart. So this is, of course, you say this is about donation, right? But it's actually about persuasion. Persuasion, I believe it happens in all different kinds of scenarios at our work. Like, for example, for a job interview, we want to persuade the HR to recruit us. Like in your report to your boss, or maybe you want to persuade your boss to approve the resource which will support your project. Or if we talk with our client, potential client, we want to persuade them to choose our product or service. So it's all about persuasion. So if we want to truly persuade people, we shall tell stories.
Absolutely. I fully agree with you. And with my groups, we frequently come into a discussion, and some of my leader participants say, okay, but do we always need to disclose a personal element, like my personal life with a story? Or do we always need to be so emotional when we say a story? Leaders have some doubts about, that they are so intrigued by the power of story, by the impact that it can make. And at the same time, they wonder how to do it. So could you please tell us, what is effective storytelling? What does it need to consist of? What are the necessary elements of a story?
I think a good story should be both logical and emotional. As you mentioned, like some people doubt about the emotional part. Do we need to be that emotional? Of course, you don't need to achieve the emotional level like in the movie. However, people make decisions not only because of the logic, but more because of the emotion. So this is backed up by a neuroscience study by Paul Zak. I'm not sure whether you heard about him. He did lots of neuroscience research, and his research showed us that when people are listening to stories, and their brain will release oxytocin. Oxytocin makes people feel more trustworthy and more compassionate and more willing to collaborate and be more generous. So if we want to persuade people to collaborate with us, we tell stories, and it will be easier for you to achieve your purpose. That's why I think a good story should be both logical and emotional.
That's a very important aspect, because some leaders say, yes, but stories are just so, emotional and, implying that they are fluffy. Yes, that there is no no content within. But I would agree with you that a good story needs to have both. If we only have data, it's very dry. There is no emotional connection. The data, it's an increasing trend in the industry